But let's hear from the evaluator first, which is Michelle.
Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. Tonight I have the pleasure of evaluating Hugh. Hugh is presenting from Pathways, his second speech. So I will be using a new form, something that is totally different. It has a rubric at the end. It's really nice. The purpose of Hugh's speech is to present a speech on any topic that he would like to, and to receive feedback and apply that feedback to his second speech, to his next speech. The purpose of this speech is for the member to present a speech and receive evaluation back from me. He should develop a well-organized speech on any topic, and this should reflect his speaking style. At this time, I'd like to welcome Hugh with his speech, I Want That Pen.
After 11 years in Toastmasters, I've developed an addiction. I am addicted to bling. Toastmasters, hold on. Now I feel better. It all started 11 years ago when I first joined Toastmasters. The first club I joined was Talk of the Town, and after I joined, they made me come up here and do some sort of membership ceremony. They made me repeat some lines, make a pledge. And after the end of all that, they gave me a pin. This pin, the membership pin, my first pin in Toastmasters. So one of the promises I made during the pledge was to be an officer when called upon to be an officer. So in a few months, they called upon me to be VP of Public Relations. So I said, okay, I'll be VP of Public Relations. At that time, I joined a second club, Phrase Forum, and was after elections, so I didn't have to be an officer for that club. So at the end of the year, when I was VP of Public Relations, I joined a third club. Sunset Speakers was my third club a year later. So the first club, when I was VP of Public Relations, when elections came around, they asked me what I wanted to do. I said, okay, I just want to step back, I'll be secretary. So I was secretary for the first club. The second club, they asked me what I wanted to do. I said, okay, how about webmaster? So they created a position called webmaster, made it an officer role, and had me be webmaster. Then Sunset Speakers came. Okay, I'll do whatever you want, Sunset Speakers. Yeah, we want you to be president. Okay, so I became president of Sunset Speakers 2 months after joining Sunset Speakers, just barely a year after joining Toastmasters. It was a very good learning experience. So I was a member of 3 clubs and an officer of 3 clubs. And some people outside the club recognized what I was doing and said, wow, that guy is doing something special. We should give him something. So I got this outstanding member pin for being a member and officer of 3 clubs. Isn't that nice? After that, I wanted to go outside the club, so they asked me to be an area governor. So I went to different clubs and I checked out the different clubs I was going to be in charge of. I said, okay, I can be an area governor. At the end of the year, after being an area governor, my area was President's Distinguished. And I got this pin for being part of a President's Distinguished area in a President's Distinguished district. But I didn't stop there. The next year I decided, okay, I'll go for a division governor. I think that's an interesting role. So I visited more clubs. I was active in the division. I was there to help the other area governors. So at the end of that year, I had a pretty good year. I think that was my best year in Toastmasters. And I got a pin at the end of the year for being President's Distinguished Division. Is this pin. And all throughout my journey, I was still doing speeches. I was doing manuals after manuals after manuals. I got the different awards, the Compton Communicator Award, the Advanced Communicator Bronze Award, Silver and Gold. And at the end of the first year, I got this Distinguished Toastmaster medallion. And at the end of my second year, I got this Distinguished Toastmaster medallion. And at the end of my third year, I got this Distinguished Toastmaster medallion. And they give out awards for completing many awards. For example, if you complete 3 awards in a year, that's a Triple Crown. So, one year I got a Triple Crown pin, this one. And another Triple Crown pin, this one. And another Triple Crown pin, this one. That year I got 10 educational awards in 1 year. Just to think about how much that is. 10 speeches is a CC, a Competent Communicator Award. So you do 10 speeches a year, you've done 1 award. I did, in 1 year, 10 awards in 1 year. I did a lot of Toastmasters in that year, and I don't know how I did it. I don't think I had a life, but I love Toastmasters. And I did all those awards, and I got all these pins. I was excited. But I didn't stop there. The next year, I went to Vegas. It was the Toastmasters International Convention in Vegas. So I went to Las Vegas just to be with Toastmasters for an entire week. Yes, I spent all week with Toastmasters inside a meeting room with Toastmasters all week long. Isn't that exciting? Yeah. You don't sound too convinced. But it was exciting for me. I got to meet Toastmasters from all over the world, from Jamaica, from Brazil, from Mexico, from China, from Korea, Japan. I met Toastmasters all over the world in Vegas. Also met a Toastmaster from the Middle East. In fact, while I was there, I was interviewing several people who were running for a second VP of Toastmasters International. So I had a couple of votes, so I interviewed them. One of the persons who I interviewed his name was Mohammed Murad. He ran for the second VP, and one of his things was that he gave out a pin to all the people he interviewed, this pin. And his message was, together towards tomorrow, a world of achievement. That was his campaign speech for Toastmasters. And I got the pin, and he got the election, and he eventually became international president. I got lots more stories to tell, so you don't have to time me. I can talk about all these other things. Don't worry about it. I'm keeping him ahead. I'm timing myself. But I didn't stop at the international convention. The next year, I made a trip to the Bahamas. My very first trip to the Bahamas. And it was for Toastmasters. So first, a Toastmaster picked me up from the airport and dropped me off at a hotel. They had a good time there. In the morning, they dropped me off for a tour for the Atlantis Paradise Resort. So I had a tour there. And at the end of the night, I visited a club in the Bahamas. The first Toastmasters club in the Bahamas, Club 1600. A very prestigious club in the Bahamas. If you ever been to the Bahamas, you ask what's the best Toastmasters club to visit, most people will say Club 1600. And I visited that club, and I gave a speech at that club. So now I can say I'm an international speaker.
Awesome.
Yeah. And at the end of the speech, they gave me a special pin, a membership pin for being an honorary member of Club 1600 in the Bahamas. Where's this pin at? Club 1600. A club in the Bahamas. I became an honorary member of the Bahamas. And there's no more pins to talk about. There's another pin I want to get, and that is the Pathways pin. I hope to get that from Chris someday. This is a Toastmaster.
Thank you. Listen, all of those pins, I don't understand everything